I've been told by the YouTube overlords that the health of our stream is good. It's good. Feels almost biblical in a certain way.
I bet the YouTube gods could tell you what's exactly in your stream, Dan.
I don't want them to run that kind of scientific analysis on my stream. What's
I
up,
bet
Brew?
they already have, man.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. What's up, Brew?
What's up, man?
This is the part of the show, for those uninitiated, where Brew and I catch up, because we text relentlessly all week, but we don't actually talk to one another until Friday. So, what's cracking, my man? What can everybody in the world know that's not basketball related? How are you? How are things?
Okay, what's basketball or what's not basketball related? I slept a little bit more. I took a nap the other day.
Cool.
That was really nice. Yeah, no, this is decompression week. You know, it happens every year. It also coincides with overreaction week. And I don't quite know why, because I think people should be relaxing and chilling and not getting all hyped up over the most recent hullababoos or whatever it's called.
That was something similar, yeah.
Is it the hubbaloo?
Hullabaloo or a hubbub. Yeah.
Hullabaloo. So, you know, it's just a chill week. We pivot into in-season premium stuff. You know, you look at well, actually, you used to look at the stat trackers and enjoy what was going on. Now, almost every, well, not every, but ESPN stat tracker makes me want to throw my laptop across the screen or across the room. Like, it's, do you have that? Are you dealing with that right now?
I have been, it's a weird thing. I think I use a combination of box score web pages that try to like kind of aggregate all of them in one place, and my teams themselves. So I'll like every once in a while I'll refresh those, because sometimes those like aggregate box score pages run a tiny bit behind. My teams are, like, at the risk of jinxing myself, I have 4 leagues that I pay really close attention to, and then a couple more that I pay a decent amount of attention to, and then, like, one that I don't pay much attention to. The ones that I'm really focused on, the ones where I really busted my ass for draft day, those teams are all really good right now, and so I'm not stressing in this early part of the year. It makes it a lot easier to avoid the panic week.
Well, yeah, but I'm just talking pure. Like, I like to watch just the numbers accumulate.
Are they just not working?
Okay, okay. You don't have an ESPN league.
No, I've written off ESPN. I won't use it.
Okay, all right. So, what they did was, it's worthy of a tirade, Dan. And I think there's enough ESPN users out there that actually want to hear this tirade.
Have at it, man. I haven't hit the record button for the one that's going out to the regular pod folks. Do you want to save this until after that?
Probably.
Okay, let's do a real show then. I'm going to turn our audio off, so if you're tuning in right now, just know that you're about to hear silence for about 5 seconds, and then we're going to officially start the real show. So hold on. I'm going to give you your Wayne's World countdown here, but Brew can't see me, so anyway. What's happening, everybody? Welcome to Fantasy NBA Today, live on YouTube. You are also getting this via the traditional podcast channels now. If you tuned in via those traditional channels, you missed Brew and I talking for just a moment before going on air. We weren't particularly weird today, but there's plenty of season left for that. And Brew was just about to launch into a classic ESPN fantasy tirade, and I thought, we got to get this on the regular pod. So very briefly here, I'm Dan Bespers. He's Aaron Brewski. Aaron, how do you feel about ESPN Fantasy right now?
I've been okay with it. You know, I've been just sort of like rolling with the punches, trying to not, you know, like you were saying, I'm not looking at my teams critically. You know, I'm not in as many head-to-head leagues as a lot of guys out there are. So I can just let it roll. But I'll tell you, my feed is blowing up with people upset at ESPN, and it's actually finally gotten to me. One of the parts I enjoy about just the night-to-night fantasy hoops is you get to watch the stats accumulate. You know, you get to watch and you look, you see Steph Curry's got 51 points or whatever he had, and it's just fun. It's the yin and the yang. Sometimes you look and you see everybody just was terrible, and you're like, you know, but that's what you signed up for. That's the payoff for all this stuff. ESPN, what they've done, there's no longer a separate window that pops up that shows you your team. And if you wanted to click into a particular game, you could switch and sort of toggle from your standings to the actual game itself. It's all on one page, and the page itself it's broken up in a way to where you have to like hit left and right buttons if you want to scroll across, the different statistical.
Unacceptable. Unacceptable.
It's so bad, and that's not even the tip of the ice. Like the setting of lineups and all of that stuff. I mean, the minute I mentioned it once on Twitter, my feed lit up. Everybody's pissed off, and I don't think they're going to do anything about it.
It's weird too. I've eliminated all ESPN leagues. A couple as of a few years ago. I just couldn't handle the interface. It freaked me out. Everything about it was in a weird place. I was trying to find things and nothing was where I thought they should be. And I know Yahoo has their problems, and as a commissioner of a couple of Yahoo leagues, their commissioner options are severely lacking. But just from like an interface standpoint, it's so far beyond what ESPN uses. I won't touch it. And it's nice for us, actually. We run all of our hoopball leagues through Fantrax, which does have some interface stuff that they need to fix, but the commissioner tools are fantastic, and the ability to run all of these leagues without actually having to be in them was also such a massive boon for us. So are you going to move? Are you going to shift away from them? I think the only way they might get it is if people stopped clicking through.
Yeah, no. I mean, this one was an auction format, this particular league, but it was also my hub for just sort of watching the stats on a kind of night-to-night basis. So I know I need to switch to Yahoo, which I'm going to do. The stat tracker on Yahoo, I think, is much higher quality. The problem is it doesn't have my big money teams, loaded into it. So it's not quite as convenient for me. But then even over at the NFBKC, they switched to a really nice draft software. I thought the draft experience was really nice. The day-to-day stuff is not good. And I need to send an email. I probably shouldn't say that publicly, but whatever.
Now it's out there now.
You know what? I think that a lot of this stuff, the more detail, more effort you put into it, that it would result in me not saying this kind of a thing. And so the two hubs of what I would watch on a day-to-day basis are not performing, and that makes me, just like. I just sort of been distanced from the day-to-day of my particular team. So I've just been stuck in box scores, almost as if I don't have 14 teams or whatever I've got.
Would Hoopball ever have something where you could track your guys in it? Is that a project down the line or no?
Based on what these guys do on a day-to-day basis, I think anything's possible with the talent that we have in the development team.
Sweet.
So we have probably the next project there is going to be really, it's a big deal for us as a site because we move into the next or current generation, I would say, of statistical database delivery. And with that comes all sorts of powerful options and tools and next generation things that I can't wait for us to get into. You always got to take the steps as they should come. And, my hope is that we can have some of this out sooner rather than later. Maybe even before the new year.
Oh my.
Which would just be, value add for folks.
Yes, it would. Can't wait. You can follow Aaron on Twitter at Aaron Brewski. I'm available at Dan Besbris. This is, of course, a Hoopball presentation. That's the site we've been talking about. And if you're watching us on YouTube, you can see these lovely graphics. I believe I'm using my finger to point to Hoopball right now, and then Fantasy NBA Today. That's over there. And then this is the video. You can follow us. See, here's the Twitter handle for me. I'm pointing to that. And now I'm going to point up here. Oh, yeah, I can't stretch across our two video screens, but there's Aaron's Twitter handle as well. Thank you again to Scott Douglas for helping set all this stuff up. So for those uninitiated, this is week 2 of our live show. We do this weekly during the NBA campaign. It's an opportunity for Aaron and myself to catch up a little bit, talk about the hot topics of the week from a fantasy standpoint, and also take some questions from the YouTube chat room. So I would encourage anybody that's listening to this podcast to come and join us live next time around. You can ask us questions. Depending on time, I try to start with the big picture questions, and if we have time at the end, I might get into the minutia a little bit more. But things that are directly about your Like if you're in like a 16-team league, here's a 3-for-3 trade that was proposed to me. That's a question that gets bumped down the list a little bit. But if you have a one that's like, hey, what would you do to buy low for Cat right now? That applies to a lot of people. Those are the questions that get dropped in a little bit early. But first half of the show, things that happened this week, and what does Brew think about them? Aaron, shall we begin?
Let's do this, Dan. I have a lot to say about this week. I just don't know what it is yet.
Perfect. Well, I think I can drag a few sentences out of you. Jimmy Butler. Don't we have to start with Jimmy Butler because there's a new trade rumor every day. The Wolves continue to play him, although it sounds like maybe not in this one. We're recording this, of course, Friday, very early afternoon on the Pacific Coast. Why are they trotting him out there for big minutes in the games he's playing if they're trying to keep him from getting hurt? Why are they not taking the potential Houston deal? Are they trying to get somebody to one-up that? What the hell are they doing right now in Minnesota? I don't fully understand it. Also, Derrick Rose.
You gotta just append that to the end.
Throw it in there.
Also, Derrick Rose, question mark, exclamation point, pirate flag.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, okay. So there's this athlete thing, and it happens in football more than it happens in baseball, where you see a football team up 49-7 or something in the fourth quarter. They still got their starters out there, and that's a way more dangerous sport. Athletes pretty much view this as the minute I get scared, the minute that I take myself off the floor, I start playing soft or I play scared, and that increases my risk for injury. There's a superstition involved. There's sort of a swagger that coaches, especially like Tom Thibodeau, have in that you're not going to tell me how to run my team. There's a Minnesota Wolves standpoint of if we show this guy's going out there and he's playing big minutes, we're not afraid to throw him out there. People might stop looking at that knee, might look at the big numbers that come with more minutes. So those are all the reasons why you should. The reasons why you shouldn't are the things that you just alluded to, and Tibbs probably wins out in that discussion. Jimmy Butler probably wins out. If Jimmy Butler says he wants to play 48 minutes, I don't think they're going to argue with him right now because they have this good working relationship despite the drama. You know, he's coming in, he's playing hard, he's doing kind of well. You know, his last game was really good. So I think they're just happy if it's not at DEFCON 5. And there's also, I think, an expiration date on all of this. You know, the Houston Rockets offer of 4 first-rounders. Talked about it on the Cause and Brew show earlier today. It's not as bad as it might seem on the surface. I mean, let's just assume all those first-rounders are all late first-rounders. That's not a bad place to draft. They can make that move by October 31st. Or after, October 31st. That's because Marquise Chris and Brandon Knight's contracts become tradable at that point. That, I think, along with several reports that we've seen, have sort of pointed towards this week after October 31st or that immediate first half of November as a potential time that Jimmy Butler could be traded. It all sort of makes sense. You don't want to go too long with this circus. You know, if a circus lasts in October, November, you'll forget about it by February. This team's already getting dismantled. Who knows how that's all going to go, how that's going to look. The difference between a trade with Houston, you know, for 4 first-rounders and Miami might be a total signal that it's win later versus win now. If you trade with Miami and somehow you could get a Josh Richardson and Bam Adebayo, you're probably in the playoff hunt. You know, I don't think the Wolves, in fact, you know, I think both Kaz and I had the Wolves out of the playoffs. You know, we're just sort of going off of even almost what if Jimmy Butler was to stay. They don't have a great chance. I think those 4 first-rounders are, if I'm running that team, probably the way I go because, you know, stranger things have happened. You know, you get a key injury or two in Houston, all of a sudden those picks get better. So a lot would come down to pick protections, but that's what's going on in that universe. Fantasy owners have to be probably, I mean, Miami would probably be a good landing spot for him. Houston would not. You know, I think his stats probably hold up for the most part in either location. But, you know, when you're talking about a first to second round talent, you know, typically I think he moves into that second to third or even fourth round range. It's only one basketball to go around in Houston. You got 2 ball dominant players. That's a tough road to hoe, for a fantasy asset. But he does enough across categories to where maybe the distribution of his stats changes a little bit. He can focus a little bit more on defense. Maybe he gets a little boost from the offensive effectiveness, of these 2 organizations that he would be bound to improve, going to those 2 locations. So it's a lot to think about, but I think the end is near for that.
All right, let's go to some topics that are a little bit less heavy, and these are more like simple fantasy stuff. Zach Collins in Portland is coming up a lot right now. We talked about him last week. I was and am still sort of skeptical of anybody not playing 20 minutes a game, but somehow he's turned that into top 50. You can't shoot 70% with 3-pointers for a season. Can the other stuff hold, I guess, is the question. I mean, how much of a risk are you willing to take on this guy? Could he jump Yusuf Nurkic this year? Is this a guy that you should be sitting on, like pick him up now and hold him in a keeper league for next season? How high can he really go in like 18, 19 minutes a night?
Yeah, I mean, he can't. That's an easy answer. He can't in 19 minutes. I mean, we're talking very few players have been able to pull that off. And, Jordan Bell was one of them, and he did it for like 3 weeks last year. 19 minutes. The only guy that's really done that I can recall is Rashawn Holmes, 2 years ago. He did it for the post-All-Star, probably post-trade deadline run, and he had a few more minutes than that. So, no, the answer is no. He's not going to shoot 72.7% as he shot for the first 4 games. And this is kind of, I think you did it in your podcast with Seth. The rankings right now are a hot mess.
They're so crazy.
You can have, and there's, like Clint Capella's getting dinged for his free throw percentage, but he's taken like 8 free throws this year. So things can happen in rankings right now that just are so exploitable from a buy low, sell high standpoint. So no, he can't. He's blocking 2.3 shots per game right now and 19.7 minutes per game. No.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
And those were the concerns coming into the year was, does he get the money counters that he needs in order to sustain low minute totals? So if you got him, if you picked him up, great. I love him as a player. I think that there's an argument to be made to go over for him to leapfrog Yusuf Nurkic. I don't know that they do that. They would probably need to have an injury or a major decline in Nurkic's game for that to happen. But come playoffs, he's a guy that should be on the floor 30 minutes per game.
The next guy and there's no rhyme or reason, by the way, to this list. I was just looking up teams and looking up who's doing what, and this is the order I wrote them down, is Jonathan Isaac, who's now put together a couple really nice games in a row. I mean, in my wildest dreams, I don't think I thought it would get this good this fast. Should I temper my enthusiasm with the knowledge that as a young player, there's going to be a bump or two still here early? I mean, like, it took him, a game and a half for him to just sort of be like, oh, right, I can just throw up double-doubles in 4-block games like it ain't no thing. It can't be this easy, right?
It can. It will.
All right, on to the next one.
Look at you. Why are you always pushing me? I wanted to wax poetic. All right, next one.
Wax away, man. I just thought that was very...
He's an HB6 guy. I mean, you take a little bit of time to shine a little light on some of that stuff.
Wax away. Let's wax. Wax on.
Okay. So he's already, in 5 games sitting at basically a 111. And we always projected him at really low-end usage. So the difference, though, as he sits on sort of like back-end late-round value in a 21.1 minute per game, or probably 23.3 minute per game sample, is this guy going to play 30? I think I projected him at 28.5 minutes per game, something like that. He could easily play 30 minutes per game this year. He's that much of a game changer defensively. So if you're looking at late round value now with a 111, which is basically what he's consistently done even last year during that injury plagued season, the only place he can go is to the middle rounds where we projected him. So the early middle rounds. So he's a guy, he can't be on waiver wires. That would be unacceptable.
That would be criminal.
Yeah, you got to pick him up, or if there's anybody that's doubting what he's going to be capable of, you got about 1 hour. Don't they play tonight? I think, you don't have much time to go pick up Jonathan Isaac or make a play.
Yes, they do play tonight. They're at, I think they're might be an hour later this evening. Are they on the road?
Hopefully he has a slow night and you guys can get in there with some sort of buy low.
Yes, he's in Milwaukee. So this actually could be a slow night if he has to deal with Giannis for any stretch of time.
It could be a slow night for Giannis.
Yes, I like that confidence. The Cleveland Cavaliers.
Why, Dan?
Because we have to, and because in a nice world, some of these old guys might actually decide to step up a little bit. It doesn't look like anybody really wants to on that team, which is kind of upsetting. I thought that they'd play with a chip on their shoulder, and they're playing with, like a Twinkie smoothie.
Big old anvil.
Yeah, I don't know what's on their shoulder, but it's not a chip. And Kevin Love, obviously he'll be fine. There'll be injury stuff throughout the year for him. Larry Nance had a nice ball game with Kevin Love out, although it also times up with his minutes restriction being peeled back a little bit. But then you've got this host of other guys. Cedi Osman, George Hill, Rodney Hood are probably the three that come up the most often. Is there any upside for the four guys I named that were not Kevin Love on that list? I'm inclined to say Nance, but I don't know about any of the other ones.
Nance has, I think, the most comfortable upside because he just has to stay healthy, and that's always been. Is it the bugaboo? Was that what I was looking for earlier?
That's one, yeah.
No, the bugaboo with him is the health. But nice stat set and plenty of opportunity. I mean, it feels like some narrative-based general manage / owning. They're like, Larry Nance, this is our guy. We're going to make him the face of the franchise. Can he handle it? We'll see. But, Cedi Osman is – everybody declared him like some projecting win after 2 games. And the stat set is a question mark. The efficiency is a question mark. And it seems like he, at some point, will get reeled in. And this is what happens on a bad team is sometimes the most active or athletic person can take the ball and sort of do what they want with it, which would be a point in his favor if he can keep the efficiency in a good place. But it seems like he's going to have a hard time doing that. And it's going to get harder as the year goes on because guys like Kevin Love will take more time off. George Hill, for whatever he's doing right now, he's going to probably peel back his minutes. You're going to see a very young team making a lot of mistakes. 9 cat owners beware. It's just going to be, I think, a late round season for Cedi. If he can stay healthy, he might aggregate his way to a top 100 season. Yeah, there's some upside. I could be wrong on this. He might be able to, work his way up into the middle rounds, but I'm not, I'm definitely not throwing a party if I, ranked him as a late round pick and, thinking he's going to be some top 50 guy. It just doesn't, look that way.
Well, I finally got my league pass going the other day, and I watched the Cavs home game against Brooklyn, and Osman in particular was forcing a lot of shots, and you just got the feel that, like, okay, this guy could be pretty good, but it's not all there yet, and it's a team thing, too. It falls not just on him, but on everybody, but, he didn't get a touch for, like, 3 straight possessions, and so on the 4th one, he just took it and fired it. It was like, okay, I'm going full Phoenix Suns on this one. Listen, I got the ball. It's going up. And that's bad. Their shooting percentage is terrible. They're not taking great shots. I do think things will improve a little bit. They're not going to go 0-82. Kevin Love in particular, when his shots start to go in, slows down the opposition a little bit more and so on and so forth. But, yeah, I'm inclined to say the same thing, that my George Hill love, my old man love, I think there's just not enough – there's not enough reason to hold a guy like that because it's probably just going to sit in the late rounds, and it's more fun to go hunting at that point. And I'm going to use this as a bridge to my next question, which is, what about those similar kind of guys on the Pistons? Reggie Bullock feels kind of like a safe late-round guy. Ish Smith is making a case to be a safe late-round guy. Reggie Jackson is a safe late-round guy. Can any of those three dudes actually jump the hurdle and get to that next group and get into like the late middle rounds, or are they just like the Cavaliers guys but on a slightly better team?
Yeah, I think you would need to see an injury for one of the Reggie Jackson, Ish Smith guys, and Ish Smith got banged up last night. Even so, like 9 cat owners, it doesn't apply to. You know, they both got stat set issues. I think I'd rather have a George Hill, to be honest. I mean, he's been really bad, and I don't think that's changing. You know, there's this like light bulb that sometimes goes off with George Hill that sometimes, or, you know, if you were to be the recipient of that, that would be a nice little bonus. I don't think you're going to plan for that, but just the fact that he's starting and he's going to aggregate minutes, he like there's a good chance he produces at, say, like a top 125, 150 level. And, you know, like Bullock, Jackson, Smith, I don't know who else you mentioned there. Like
it's the whole crop of them.
you're getting the same value proposition, but with George Hill, barring just complete, you know, like an injury, or they do turn the page and go, you know, to Colin Sexton, in which case then it's obvious that you do drop. Like, he's as rock solid as it comes. So if I'm going to be dealing with late round, low upside assets, at least I want the one that I can pencil in for 30 minutes per night. And chances are he should hold his stat set at least from previous, not the Utah season, but, you know, Sacramento, Cleveland. Like, he should be able to do that. And that, I think, should be able to produce that late round value. And it's just what it is it's like, I need somebody that's playing. That's the only thing you're looking for there. But I'd rather have them or him than those other guys you mentioned.
Next question. Could Jeremy Grant be a thing if he can stick in the starting lineup? Ability to steal, block, hit some threes, or fool's gold yesterday's game?
No. So my biggest fear for OKC from a reality basketball standpoint is they're so shallow. They just lack healthy bodies. Andre Roberson was... First of all, people think that Andre Roberson is Andre Roberson of 3 years ago. He hasn't been great defensively for a bit now. So I don't think that even if he comes back that you're expecting a ton from this guy. So whereas people thought this guy was going to play a role for them this year, really it's not in the cards. So you have this gaping hole where he used to be. They're filling it with Abrines and Diallo and Ferguson, and none of those guys are really guys that should be playing. So what does that tell you? It tells you that outside of the center position, you know, which is pretty much covered up with, you know, Adams and Noel, Jeremy Grant is needed and theoretically could be playing. I mean, he could play 3, but, you know, if you wanted to stick Jeremy Grant out there and just say, hey, you're just like a weird 2, like he could cover some 2s. So I think what they would do is obviously keep Westbrook and Paul George and, you know, maybe a third guard into those guard rotation slots. There's just going to be a lot of minutes at the 3 for him if they want to go there with him. They're probably going to keep him at, say, 25, 26 minutes tops. I think there's still too many limitations offensively to really get in there and blast off. But he's got such a good money counting stat set that he can make noise. I think he's a late round value no matter what. And I do think there's upside beyond that. I think he could touch top 80, you know, if everything breaks his way.
Oh, rumbling right along here. Another name on my list, Kyle Anderson. So I finally saw a few extra minutes in Memphis's most recent game. I've seen him dropped in quite a few spots. Are you at all concerned about what's going on there? Is this just an adjustment period? Was that game the start of something beautiful? Where do you sit with slow-mo today?
You remember those drop recommendations that were made on Nikola Jokic 2 years ago?
Yeah, and he was drafted in the top 20 that year.
You know, like, this is the first week, people. It's crazy. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, he looks like crap. But here's the thing. So against Sac, he didn't really look great. I mean, he had, like 5 points? I think he had 9 rebounds in that game and just didn't turn the page from the early season struggles. But the prior game, he was literally tugging his shorts and breathing as hard as he could after 20 minutes of play. And so if you're sick, if you've ever tried to play through something when you're sick, not every player is going to go out there and just not show any signs of it. If you stayed out of preseason action for Achilles soreness and you basically are getting into basketball shape and you're sick, you know, that's what it looked like to me. So 2 days later, you get to crack at the Kings and isn't really kind of a part of the offense. That game was, I mean, these games against the Kings are just going to be sloppy, and games across the league have been sloppy. You know, people want to know what this pace thing is all about. Well, not only is every team in the league trying to play with a faster pace, which is going to lift the table for everybody. You got teams that are playing sloppy, and so Memphis, you know, they got a talent deficiency. They've got no depth. That's with Mike Conley. That's with Marc Gasol. You know, they already got JaMychal Green out. This is like, I don't understand how we're dropping Kyle Anderson after the first week of play. His stat set suggests that with the 28 minutes, he should be able to have that top 80 value. You know, so that I'm not even close to thinking about that. I don't own him in a whole lot of places. I do have him in a few, though. I'm not even remotely thinking about dropping him.
Next on the list, Montrezl Harrell out in Clippertown. He's another guy who's sitting on a slightly lower number of minutes. We've seen him sort of do a lot with those minutes. I remain very concerned that he's due for like a 3-for-9 free throw shooting game, but so far he's actually made his foul shots. Is he a guy that should be owned?
Yes. He, first of all, some players jump off the screen. He jumps off the screen. He looks better than last year. I wish I had more of him. He, compared to Marcin Gortat, it might not even be a comparison. Like, you know, it might get to the point where they look at Gortat and they say, okay, we'll line you up against the Jonas Valanciunas of the world, but that's it. And they just start him as a placeholder starter and bring Harrell off the bench. He's physically just, you know, he's kind of like Draymond Green early in his career, but without the shooting ability, you know, and probably without some of that Michigan State bred basketball IQ, you know, that Harrell, though, you still see a lot of that. He's got those instincts. I think he's going to come up here pretty soon. He's averaging just 19 minutes a game. Huge stats so far. Already a mid-round value. It's a stop what you're doing, in my opinion, and go grab him.
Yeah, he's owned in every single one of my leagues, so it's not. Unfortunately, that's not something I can react to live on today's podcast. I can go look and say, nuts, and then move on to the next question, which is, and I wanted to save this one, but I got to get it out there because I think people care. Chicago, man, the Bulls are crushed right now. Three of their 5 best players are out. Arguably 2 of their top 3 and 3 of their top 4, depending on where you put them all. Markkanen, Dunn, Portis, all down for another month. What are they going to do out there besides, obviously, a very large dose of Zach LaVine?
Yeah, and it's brutal because not only did Chris Dunn, he spent the first week supposed to be in the lineup's locked, and then personal issue, you know, getting being with the birth of his kid. So he kills you in week 1, kills you in week 2, and then you also lose him for, you know, a few weeks. So you got to hang on to him, obviously. So that's what's up there. You're going to get a ton of Zach LaVine. Jabari Parker probably is going to put something like top 80 value up, you know, for the duration. It's really good for their offense in a way because they just needed to reduce some usage somewhere. Watching them play the other night was like one of the craziest things I've ever seen. For an entire fourth quarter, they had like maybe 5 passes on offense. It was just turn and chuck for every single one of them. They knew they weren't getting the ball back. Justin Holiday, you know, he was somebody that I was getting, you know, I was moving him up the board as preseason went on because Denzel Valentine's obviously not able to stay upright. Holiday has provided good minutes for them in the past, and I think he'll keep doing that. I think he's must-own right now. And then when you look at that center rotation, you can see Wendell Carter, start to be more consistent on a night-to-night basis with the statistical production. Robin Lopez comes in and probably gives you something like top 150 value. It's going to be boring, though. Zach LaVine's going to get in there and really crank it up. He might be top 30, top 40 during that time. He looks like Minnesota Zach LaVine, and he also is ready to take that next step forward offensively. So, his light build, I think, has been a big bonus. For somebody going through an ACL, he did look a little overweight last year. The numbers that he put up last year really scared a lot of people away. But he's just a guy that can rise and fire, and he's got that shot making mentality from the perimeter where he can pull at any given second. It's the other aspects of his game that you hope can improve, and then also can he and his teammates learn to pass as they all get healthy again. Bobby Portis, man, that injury, that's brutal, because that was just easy money for a guy that went way too late in drafts. He was just set to clean up, and it's not going to be the case. And when he returns, there will be Lauri Markkanen right there, and then his life gets a little bit more difficult. But yeah, just a brutal, and I think we had a lot of Bulls in the hoop ball circles. I think Chris Dunn was owned, and I know Bobby Portis was on a lot of teams as well.
2 more questions about the week gone by, and then we're going to get into the chat room. One of them is, have I turned you into a Danny Greenophile yet?
First of all, I was the original.
I know, but I think he hurt you at some point. I think he wronged you.
He did. He hurt me like 5 years ago. I had him really high, and this was pre people being way better at this than they are. 5 years ago, I don't know. I think it's just the technology's caught up. I think we were able to really introduce some things to the lexicon, like money counting stats, cash counters. AKA these things are now known, I think, across more fantasy leagues. So Danny Green, that's where his value's at. I had him in like the top 50 because he was the top 50 the year before. All he had to do was walk through the door and do the same exact thing. And that was 4 years ago. Anyway, why you got to bring bad stuff up, Dan?
No, I'm bringing up good stuff.
No, to answer your question, he's just the same guy. He's going to be a top 99 cat guy and a top 128 cat guy. You could write it in with pen.
I want him to go higher in 9 cat. I want top 75 out of Danny Green this year. You hear that, Danny? You hear that? I'm asking for it. And it's reachable, although I am concerned about DeLon Wright if he ever does decide to get healthy. I guess it could be a bit. And then the last thing is, before we get into the chat room, right before we went on air today, the New York Knicks announced sweeping changes to their starting lineup. Did you get to see this new one?
Let me see if I guessed it correctly, because I didn't look before I got on.
I need to go make sure I got it right. Frank Ntilikina is indeed the starting point guard.
Did they bring Lance Thomas into the power forward slot?
He is no longer in the starting lineup.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is New York Knicks bingo, by the way. If you can get all 5 starters.
Who did they put at power forward then? Did they go with Vonleh?
He is indeed in the starting lineup. Noah Vonleh is a
starter. That's not very defensive.
You've got 2 out of the 5, Brew. Let's keep going.
Oh, Tim Hardaway's got to be in there.
Yeah, that's a gimme.
And then you got Enes Kanter. They're not taking him out.
Nope.
So if the third
Kanter is out.
If they went defensive, which is purportedly what they're going to do, it's not going to be Mario Hezonja.
Nope, he's not in there.
Let's go with.
We got 2 more to go.
Well, okay. If Frank Ntilikina, is he starting a point guard?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Hardaway's the 2. Vonleh, it's not clear if he's the 4 or the 5.
For the defensive purposes, my God, they probably brought Trier into the lineup.
He is not in the starting lineup. This is like the most insane starting lineup of all times. They do have a 7-footer in there at center, presumably. Again,
what,
not
they put Mitchell in there?
Mitchell Robinson is a starter for the New York Knicks tonight. He is their starting center. And the small forward is hot topic of the week, Damian Dotson. There's your 5 for the Knicks.
Oh, I thought you said Vonleh was in there.
Yeah, he's the 4.
Okay, so is Cantor in the?
Nope.
Is he? Cantor's off the bench.
Cantor is out.
Oh, he's out. Got it.
No, I mean he's out of the starting lineup. He's off the bench.
Well, ain't that hilarious?
They benched Dennis Cantor.
You see, you just don't know who's calling the shots there. Like, is that Fizdale? Is that, Scott Perry? Did Dolan call down and is like, give me Mitchell?
This is the greatest. I mean, not the greatest, but this is madness. Frank Ntilikina is the 1. Tim Hardaway at the 2. Damian Dotson the 3. Noah Vonleh. Well, now they're saying it's either Lance Thomas or Noah Vonleh. I guess it's not 100% set in stone.
Yeah,
and then
Mitchell Robinson. Defensive, that's all Lance Thomas gives you anyway.
And then Mitchell Robinson. I'm inclined to say, my reaction to this is, I know a lot of people are like, oh my God, should I pick up a bunch of guys and drop a bunch of guys? My thought is maybe you just drop almost all of them. Not obviously guys like Cantor, who's still going to see plenty of time off the bench, and Tim Hardaway, who's been awesome so far this year. But Trey Burke, Ntilikina, Dotson, Vonleh, Robinson, all of these, Hazonia, all of the sort of other guys that we've been watching on the Knicks, if this is how things are going to be, and every 8 to 10 days it's just going to be somebody else getting minutes, I don't think you can trust any of those dudes. And I don't know, how does this change when Kevin Knox comes back? Does this change if Courtney Lee ever comes back? This just makes me want to put a no Knicks allowed banner on my treehouse instead of Kings.
Yeah, with the one thing that I remember from the Scott Perry era, which lasted all about like 3 months in Sacramento, was chaos with lineups, like promises that are made to people, and it just like how are you going to jumble that lineup up like that? That's insane. Whether it's rookie Frank Ntilikina or Trey Burke, who's been okay, but whatever. He's not untouchable. Mario Hazonia, you don't take a 3-year deal with the Kings. You go to the Knicks, and it's like, oh, wait, by the way, you're not playing. Like, what? Well, nothing adds up there ever. And Hazonia, when he had his good game, and I dropped him in a lot of places, when he had his good game, he was so bad. It was such a bad, good game that, no Knicks other than Cantor and THJ.
Yeah. That's where I'm at with this one, too. And you're going to see a lot of those guys getting scooped up and dropped tonight. I am 100% behind the dropping of many of these guys tonight.
But if Hazonia has a big game, this is the thing about Hazonia. Like, he should theoretically be able to get in there and take care of business. 30 minutes per game of Hazonia would be sort of kind of almost knocking on the door of top 75. So you kind of got to watch him and deal with some of the hiccups. Unfortunately.
Yeah. You and my wife use the word theoretically quite often. She talks about it in the medical sense, and I'm always like, okay, but now what I'm hearing is theoretically this should be true, but will
she's a really smart lady, Dan.
I know. I'm aware of this. It's how I'm able to do fantasy sports for a living. All right, let's go to the chat room. Oh, we got a good chunk of questions that have populated while we were getting this show going.
I bet the next question is like, how do I duplicate this?
You got to lay the groundwork in college, man. You got to con them when you have a better hairline than I have right now. I'm looking again at my video, and all I can think is, look at the freaking forehead on that clown. My hair literally started here in college. It was lush.
We should write books or something on how to outkick your coverage.
Oh, yeah. Because people are going to be like, well, maybe those guys are handsome. And then they'll watch this video and be like, oh, my God. How did they do it?
Not so.
Yeah,
but you know we're very good at outkicking our coverage.
That's right.
So and you shouldn't just, don't make fun of us. Just, maybe follow in our footsteps.
And I don't want to call any names out, but if you guys are in Yahoo leagues, right, when your drafts start, there's usually an autoplay video that goes from a 3-minute to the 1-minute countdown mark. Those guys look worse than we do, and we don't look very good. So
I don't even know who you just rattled, but that's you know what, we're good looking, man. Stop selling us short.
Yeah, face for radio, they say. Questions. PJ Butter says 12-team 9 head-to-head 9 cat. Do you think Nemanja Bjelica will have standard league value this season? That's a good question. Actually, I was going to bug you about the Kings, but we started to run a little long on the topics of the week. I kind of like Bjelica. I kind of like him right now, actually. It seems like they want him in competitive games.
there's this thing that I've been studying for years, and it's like defensive stats. Like, do you get them by having poor perimeter defenders, for instance? Like, you're a big man, you got, Jose Calderon in front of you. Are you constantly blocking shots as a result of that? And then I found this white paper on it, and it completely just ruined my desire to look into this, because it kind of proved that there's no real way to look at it. And I know that there's something out there, and I will keep looking for the holy grail of predicting defensive stats. These guys are walking into him and Marvin Bagley are getting attacked relentlessly because they're not good defenders. They're league worst defenders. So offensive players are saying, let's get in there and let's do this. Like, I'll challenge Nemanja Bjelica, and Nemanja Bjelica is like, well, I'll take your stupid little flip shot and I'll send it to the third row. And that's what happened so far with these big block totals out of both those players. So how do you predict that? Can you keep going, saying, okay, well, that's going to keep happening, and, let's get on the Nemanja Bjelica hype train. So I don't think that's going to be the case. You can learn a lot, and you can predict a lot based on career stats. And I think that he will have a hard time with consistency with the way this team is constructed. I mean, I don't see Zach Randolph coming back and playing a big role. Had I known that, I had a lot of different projections for the Kings in general this year. It can still happen. They could try to give Skal Labissiere some minutes. Costa will come back, I think, and play minutes because they need him on defense. And that's another problem with Bjelica, is he is so bad defensively that for a team that's really bad defensively and doing pretty well offensively for the most part, you need the opposite. You need defensive players to come in. So he's going to, on those nights where they're really targeting, they're really struggling, he could only play 18 minutes, and that's not going to work. You need Bjelica traditionally needs 30 minutes per game to have sort of a late round value. So that's a lot of different things working against him there. I mean, I get where everybody's saying, like, he could come in, walk into this situation. Kings are playing a ton of up and down games, going to have a lot of stats in these games. The pace of these games is going to be frenetic, garbage time. He could come in, sort of be a jack of all trades, score a little, board, and get these money counting stats, albeit not in the type of volume that we would traditionally talk about a money counting stat guy in, but enough to, like, where the whole package altogether has some sort of top 100 upside. I just don't see it. I'm not betting on it. I'm not adding him anywhere. So we'll see how that goes. They definitely want him playing, though.
What about Pascal Siakam, who's another kind of across-the-boardy sort of dude, but clearly a much better defender in real life? Can he do enough on the offensive end to make up for, to keep him on the floor, basically?
Well, I think this is like it's kind of if you're in a head-to-head league and you really, really value big poppy stats for whatever reason, that's not my jam, but, a lot of folks, you might talk to Chef about it and see what he thinks. Siakam is going to have a top 150 at a minimum stat set, game-to-game production. And that's going to be at about 20 minutes per game. Everything else after that is gravy. And, you've seen games where that's already come up. He's going to produce across all the money counting stat categories, and you're really not even getting any sort of improvement baked into that. If he starts to become a bigger part of the offense, I don't think that's coming this year. In future years down the road, yeah, he's going to continue to be more and more a part of the offense. So we really don't have to assess all that much. We know he's going to get blocks. We know he's going to get steals. We know he's going to hit the occasional three. So he's a really easy guy to project. That's why we had him high in the Brewski 150. And I just think this is one of those types of no-lose situations that, unless you absolutely are against low totals on a night-to-night basis, the actual value of that production is going to be late-round value. There's no question about it. And when you aggregate that over 82 games, also keeping in mind, he's probably already better than Serge Ibaka. He's going to be a key to their defense in that front court. So he can slide down to the 3, he could play the 5, but he could definitely play the 4. He's just going to see more minutes as the year goes on rather than less minutes. It's an easy call. He's going to get you the late round, and then Everything above that, I could easily see him finishing the year with top 75 value.
That question was from Kevin Tran. By the way, I want to correct ourselves from last week's show. We mentioned a Pascal is not a unit of energy. It is, in fact, a unit of pressure. Blaise Pascal, the French scientist. So goofed on that one. Wanted to correct that. Not that anybody actually cared at all. Brew, Brandon Ingram or Kyle Kuzma or Lonzo Ball? How would you rank the 3 Lakers in an 8-cat format or 9-cat? I don't care. Going forward.
And we talked about Rondo in the Cause and Brew show. Like, I wish I could get a prop bet on Rondo not being with the team, in 2 months. Like, I could see him easily imploding and them saying, we're way better without you. So let's get this distraction out of the locker room.
Dude, Lonzo looked amazing last night in that game against Denver. Lonzo Ball looked awesome.
He doesn't play well next to Rondo because Rondo isn't a good basketball player, and that's another thing we talked about in the Cosmo show. If you hear anybody say Rajon Rondo brings veteran leadership to the table, all that stuff, like, they don't know basketball. They don't understand how the game is played. When he gets on the floor and has 5 good plays, there are 5 other plays that he's absolutely murdering your basketball team. And that's before you get into the off-court stuff, on-court stuff, drama associated with Rajon Rondo. So I think that, you got some old schoolers in Magic Johnson that, kind of look at him and say, oh yeah, this is, a guy that is a championship veteran leader and blah, 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 blah. And that's what they bought into. That's why they brought him in. And to some degree, he's going to push Lonzo Ball. So that's, that's good. He needs to be pushed. But the problem is like, Rondo, you never get just a little bit of Rajon Rondo. You get the whole thing. And
thank you, Bob Barker.
3 minutes, 25 minutes. The price is wrong, bitch.
I don't want a piece of Rondo. I want the whole thing. Please continue.
So he's going to come in, play 23, 25 minutes, and that's going to eat at Lonzo's effectiveness because Lonzo's not an off-ball guy. He's basically a better Rondo. And I think that the minute that they pull the plug on Rondo, you're going to see Lonzo just flourish and be that kind of, mid-round asset because of the money counting stats, because of the volume, and you're really kind of decreasing some of the bad things that he does by putting the ball in LeBron James's hands. So I would rate Lonzo right now at about top 100 for current production. He's going to enjoy some big games while Rondo's out. But that, I think what I would be looking for during the sweet spot with him is top 75 numbers. Wouldn't worry about the difference between the 8 and 9 cat. And it's going to be, there'll be a little lull once Rondo returns. And that's probably when you want to buy him, is nice and low.
Oh, that's episode 5, right? Rondo returns. I've seen this franchise. Next question on the docket is, that was from Tino, by the way. Prakya says, "What's up with the Knicks starting lineup?" Well, we covered that one, so hopefully we got you. It's a mess. Frank, me and DeKangs don't talk no more. That's one of our old buddies here. What's your take on Josh Okogie? Is he a must-add? Am I even pronouncing that right?
Sure. Because I read the NBA's enunciation guide right before I got on the show.
That's good. Well, and I probably biffed it.
Okogie. Yeah, that's probably right. First of all, I love the kid. He's definitely, they got that sort of like, do anything sort of a vibe. I understand why Tibbs loves him. He's going to do a little bit of everything every night he's out there on the floor. I do think that he should be on watch lists, depending on how deep you put your watch list together. He has money counting potential. He's got the physicality that you're looking for out of an NBA player. He's going to be inconsistent. I don't know that this all totals up to late round value this year. So I think, I don't know that I'm adding him speculatively at this point. It would be a very luxury stash and probably suited for 14 to even like 18 team leagues.
And I looked it up, by the way. We did pronounce it right, according to the NBA's rookie pronunciation guide they put out. There you go. Didn't think that such a thing. Yeah, good for us. It was a good guess. ESPN's UI for fantasy sucks. Yes, we have an agreement here. ESPN is so annoying. Brew, I think you may have some loyal followers.
That's why I didn't. I've been trying to be nice because the minute you light one match,
yeah,
the rest of the thing goes on fire.
That's all right. It's not. They're not listening to us. Jetty Osman or Zach Collins going forward?
Give me Jetty with the clear runway, and with Zach, again, we got to just. I think he has it in him to be a shot blocker, but the numbers just haven't been there in the past. So, let's keep a good hope up for him. But yeah, you got to take the guy with the clean runway and organizational support in Jetty Osman.
What should I do with Darren Collison?
Is that like an abnormal amount of Darren Collison hate on the internet?
Yes, because he's a very quiet 9-cat guy, and when quiet guys go extra quiet, it looks really bad. Yeah. I mean, Tyreek's out for missing practice, so that can only help Collison's cause. I think that having another guard there that's high volume, might be digging into some of his deficiencies a little bit. But he's a guy that doesn't need to do much to get the numbers that he typically gets, and it's just it's almost more of a math thing than it is anything else. I think if you're going to say he's not a top 100 guy, I'm fine. Okay, I could get behind that. But once you get beneath 125 and especially 150, it becomes so unlikely for him to dip down beneath that. So, yeah, you can pass on him for a higher upside player. That's definitely part of this analysis. But I think he'll be a late round value, and he has a great chance of finishing better than the top 125. Yeah, I think eventually he'll be fine. I think you've also got this weird blend of the fact that Indy's played 4 or 5 games, and all but one of them has been an obscene blowout. So you have really weird minute totals for all of those guys. And I'm curious to see how things look when they play 3 or 4 competitive games in a row, and then I might readjust my expectations a little bit. Dan, what kind of juice are you drinking? That's a very good question. This is ruby red grapefruit juice. It's delightful. It's nice and tart. Got to get the saliva going here for a podcast here in the afternoon. I have good news and bad news, everybody. The good news is that we've done a lot of stuff. The bad news is that we are roughly 7 minutes from the 1 hour mark. So we are going into the lightning round. The lightning round. Yeah, Brew's doing some drum work over there. Aaron Brewski, are you ready for the lightning round? Because we still have quite a few questions left here, and I want to get to as many of them as humanly possible. That's what we do. We give it 100%, or we don't give nothing at all.
Yes, Dan, I won't be long-winded.
Thank you. Cameron Payne, do you buy what he's selling while Dunn is out?
Late round value.
I traded Yusuf Nurkic for Drew Holiday. Well done. I don't even need to ask you about that one, Brew, but you want to give this person...
bravo.
Yeah, that is a bee sting right there. What kind of whiskey are you drinking, Aaron?
I would be drinking the Black Label if I had whiskey, but what I have is actually the local Safeway gave a 50% off on craft beer. So I'm an old man now, so I drink 122, and I kind of want to take a nap, but I don't know what tonight's craft beer is. I'll have to go look. But Knee Deep Brewery in California is really taking over.
You hear that? Sponsor us.
I will talk with them since I consume enough of their product to at least get a voice at the table.
Yeah, man, I gotta get some samples down here in SoCal. I need some of this knee-deep action. I'm knee-deep in something, but it isn't beer. How would you rank Damian Dotson, PJ Tucker, Jay Crowder, and Slow-Mo? The 4 names there again, Dotson, Tucker, Crowder, and Slow-Mo. I'm going to guess that you have Slow-Mo about 2 tiers above any of these other guys, but surprise me.
Yeah, no, that's true. And, give me Tucker over Crowder. I think he's more durable, and there's something about him. I think he's peaking at a late age, and, the steals he had the other night, I think there's more it's going to be more fun and more interesting for 2 similar players. They're both late round guys that are going to plod their way to hopefully, in the best case scenario, top 125 value. And Dotson, whatever.
Should I be concerned with Kevin Love's foot going forward? I mean, I think you had to draft him knowing he was going to miss a handful of games this year, right?
I think you got to be concerned about Kevin Love for the rest of the season. you know,
or career.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna be a Anthony Davis like roller coaster.
Yeah, if you can get him to 65 to 70 games, I think you should be happy, and that's basically what you should have been thinking on draft day. I did, and I took him in one league, understanding I got this guy near 30. If he can play more than 65 games, he has a chance to go higher than that.
I think he needs 70 plus to meet his ADP.
It sort of depends on the league, I suppose. Oh, well, that's not true, because ADP is the average of that. I think... Yeah, I mean, if he goes 70, I think he clears
what did it for me, because I was pretty much pro Kevin Love until I really ran the numbers and got deep on it. I think what did it for me is his teammates are so bad.
They really are.
That it wouldn't be of his fault. It's going to be one of those things where he...
Do you believe in the longer-term value of any of these guys later in the season? You already mentioned Siakam. We talked about Zach Collins. The other two on this list are Markelle Fultz and Mario Hezonja. Do you think either of those guys can get it going later in the year?
Not with... I think, if anything, that Markelle Fultz will go backwards as the year. I think they'll really push early in the year for him to be good, and then if it's not happening organically, I think you start to see him get pulled back, and that could have a really bad effect on him. So I'm pretty down on him. I think Hezonja, on the other hand, I mean, you're looking to tank. There's your man.
Someone offered me Jaren Jackson Jr. for Evan Fournier, and I accepted. Not knowing what I walked into, I have since received offers of Yusuf Nurkic, Miles Turner, and other top 60 dudes. I do need blocks. Should I accept an offer to send away Jaren Jackson Jr.? That's an interesting little can I flip him kind of thing. I guess the question is, Brew, how high could he go with JaMychal Green out? And then it sounds like Marc Gasol is actually going to play, so maybe that extra opening not there. But would you turn Jaren Jackson into like Miles Turner, or would you rather have Triple J the rest of the year?
Yeah, that was the one that's the one you got to think about, is Miles Turner. I don't think Yusuf Nurkic is worth it. I think right now that Jaren Jackson Jr. is the better player as well as the better fantasy asset, and it's only going to get better as the year goes on for him. Miles Turner is, it kind of just feels like he is what he is. Like, he's going to be 27, 28 minutes, not a lot different from what you're getting right now in terms of current production. And I'm just more intrigued by what Jaren Jackson brings to the table. You don't have the hang-ups of Miles Turner where he might just disappear or get injured. Jaren Jackson, they have one thing that they need him to do this year, and that's improve and play. And he's rough around the edges. I mean, he got caught in all sorts of, bad positions in the Kings game. So he's going to be a little bit up and down in that regard. But you got such a clean runway for this guy. He's going to play a ton of minutes. He's probably going to hold off JaMychal Green. When Green returns, it's probably, the pecking order's already been established. So, yeah, I would actually hold Jaren Jackson Jr. and pass up on Miles Turner. And that's going to make a few people, probably turn their head a little bit.
Rondé Hollis-Jefferson, Josh Hart, rest of season value. Where do you see them falling?
That's a fun one, man. Josh Hart, love what he's doing. They've clearly... they've bought in LA to what he's doing. I'm really happy for him, and I'm happy for LA for figuring it out so fast. I'm not happy for missing out on him. I think we had the talent part nailed. I think people just sort of kind of blindly hoped that he would be good and drafted him in the late rounds. So they'll get paid off, for that sort of blind faith. And who was my other guy there?
Rondé Hollis-Jefferson.
Yeah,
give me a number, Brew. Where do they finish?
Rondé Hollis-Jefferson over Josh Hart. There's too many players there still in LA, and that sucks. But I really like what Josh Hart is doing. But even with the injury risk of Rondé Hollis-Jefferson, he's a guy that I think just sort of cruises to top 80 value. I'll take the bird in hand is better than Josh Hart
in the bush. Thank you. I had to finish that one. Karis LeVert versus De'Aaron Fox. Which one do you want?
You had to bury the lead?
No, I'm reading them basically chronological. We have some Rank Fest ones that I'm going to do right at the end before we sign off, so don't worry, I'm coming back to yours. But
okay, so
LeVert or
Rondé Hollis-Jefferson returned, and then LeVert had a classic LeVert line, which was like 10, 3, and 5, and maybe like one cash counter, right? That was the last Karis LeVert line.
Yep.
Okay. So are we supposed to throw a party for that line? Should we have a celebration? Like, should we anoint him the next Michael Jordan? This Karis LeVert stuff it happens every year. It's mind-boggling. Good player. I've already forgotten who the other player is. This stuff gets me too far.
De'Aaron Fox. Who would you rather have?
I'd rather have Fox, and here's why. Fox is the future in Sacramento, and they actually, when they go away from him, they get precipitously worse. He's going to have ups and downs. They're going to not give him that sort of like, you're the first option every night. There's no thinking about it. We're going to run everything through you, a la the great players in this league. Not saying he's a great player, but he is the one guy that can make that team go. That's why their offense was as good as it's been in the first couple of games. So, I mean, it's just, yeah, there's some stat set issues. He doesn't hit a lot of threes. His free throw shooting's a mess, but he's going to probably do something like 18 and 7, points and assists with some decent rebounds in there. He'll have flurries of money counting stats. He could improve his shooting as the year goes on. This kid can play. Karis LeVert is a better player than him right now, as far as the overall skill package goes. So I think that's going to confuse people in this kind of an analysis. But you have two other players in Brooklyn that handle the ball a lot, and Rondé Hollis-Jefferson handles the ball a lot. So I think we're going to see a peeling back of value for LeVert. It's going to be like top 80 type numbers. And I'm good with those numbers, but I think Fox has some upside. I think that if he really gets let loose, we could be seeing really big popcorn numbers and something in the 8-cat top 70, top 60 range.
So I let you go on that one because I think people really wanted it, but I got to get you back into the Lightning seat. You bailed out on me.
No. I'm laying the hammer down. It's in 9-cat leagues. I'll go LeVert.
Okay.
Because I think that Fox is going to turn it over quite a bit.
Is Spencer Dinwiddie good enough for 12-team leagues right now with the way the roster is made up in Brooklyn?
Yeah, he is. It's just going to be a little bit of a pain in the butt, on certain nights. But, yeah, hang on to Dinwiddie.
Any fear about Buddy Hield's role when Bogdan comes back?
Bogdan helps things more than he hurts things there. They need players that understand basketball on the floor. So I think he'll help Buddy. They're good friends as well, so I think there's going to be an additional sort of, buddy movie type thing going on there.
All right, it's Rank Fest time. I got a couple of them for you, and then we're out on this son of a gun. Rank number one.
I want to let it be known that I put my foot down.
I did.
Tyrant.
It's
people.
true. I think that was something people really wanted. LeVert is a guy people want to hear about. So the rank fests are just gonna have to be like crazy fast. You're just gonna have to say whatever pops in your head. This is gonna be like Rorschach test rank fest here. Sorry, any questions that are coming in now are not gonna get answered. We're over the bar. Sorry, folks. Jamal Murray, Joe Ingles, Triple J, and Miles Turner. That's the rank fest number one. Those 4 names.
Give me Ingles over Jamal Murray, and then why don't we do who are the other 2?
Triple J and Miles Turner.
Yeah, we'll go Triple J, then Miles Turner. Really tightly bunched between the 2 and the 2.
This one's less of a rank fest. There are only 3 names, but Cedi Osman, Danny Green, Mario Hezonja.
Green, Osman, and Hezonja.
This one is 1, 2, 3, 4 names long. All right, these are doable. Slow-mo. PJ Tucker. Wait, did we do that? No, this is a different group of guys. Slow-mo, PJ Tucker. Those 2 were in an earlier rank fest. Danny Green and Pascal Siakam are the new other 2 in this rank fest. So Slow-mo, Tucker, Green, and Siakam.
Yeah, we'll go Slow-mo, Siakam, Green, and Tucker.
Then there was something else here that I wanted to do, but I think I may have lost it. So quickly here, I will get these last 2 lightning round head-to-heads in. De'Aaron Fox or Dennis Smith Jr.?
It's a really good one. I was going to go De'Aaron Fox.
Jaylen Brown or Etuan Moore? Deeper league question, I presume.
I love this question. Whoever asked this question, thank you. This is a really good question because Jaylen Brown is going to struggle, I think, in fantasy leagues this year. And I'm going to take Etuan Moore to finish with more value.
And we are going to take Etuan Moore to finish the episode. See what I did there? Aaron Bruski, back into, and back out of the lightning round hot seat. Thank you, my good man, the founder of the great hoop-ball.com. You are freed from the shackles of this live show.
Well, you know what, Dan? It's been challenging, but I put up with you, and thank you very much. I can now leave.
Yep, Bruski's going to take his head off and walk away mid-show. I think that's the best way to do it. Yeah, just out of here. He's Aaron Bruski. I'm Dan Besbris. Thanks again, everybody. Appreciate all the questions in the live chat. To those, again, that are listening in the traditional podcast channels, please do consider following us on Twitter so you'll know when this next YouTube live discussion takes place. You can get your own chat questions in. We got to all of them today. We did a lot of them very fast, but we got to all of them, damn it. And that's something. Make sure to use the code HAYMAKER at Hoopball. Go to hoop-ball.com. Click on the Premium tab. Choose Go Premium, and then select the in-season Premium membership. It is, I think, Brew, still $5 off right now. Is it still? Double-checking?
That's my fault, dude. I keep forgetting to take it back, to jack the price up. But, I think there's like a little voice that's saying, don't do it, don't do it. So, you know what? Yeah, people are still getting it for cheap. If you apply a coupon code, I think you could get it for $22.99. And you know what? Sales have been good. I think that's actually why I'm just sort of letting it fly.
Yeah,
so,
it's a nice price.
Hey, it's good for you guys. It's good for us.
Damn right. $22 a month for a 6-month season is $367 a month for the premium membership. You get to talk to Hoopball pros every night if you like. You get the written content. It's all good stuff. Haymaker is the code that is tied to every podcast I've been doing here with Brewski over the last month and change or so. He's Aaron. I'm Dan. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Back with you on Monday. We got a slew of new guests coming up on Fantasy NBA Today next week. I'm very excited about. We're going to be talking to folks in touch with the Wizards, with the Suns, with the Wolves to get a little bit more info on this Jimmy Butler stuff going on. And the Mavericks. They may all be on next week's show. I don't know, but it's going to be fun. Really looking forward to some new voices on this thing. So make sure to stay tuned for that. And as always, Brew, do you want to sing me on this one? I'm getting down on bended knee, folks. Please.
He's down on bended knee.
Thank you. Please subscribe to the podcast, rate and review it if you have a moment. And now, officially, have a lovely weekend. We'll talk to you on Monday.